Hi, this is Bill Ezel with Guild Mortgage Company and ApprovedByBill.com. Today I'm talking about bank overlays, which is Guild's biggest strength, is that we follow guidelines. So Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac have their own guidelines and their own underwriting that everybody in the industry has to follow if you're selling to those two entities, for example, on a conforming loan. And then FHA has its own guidelines and VA, and we stick to those guidelines with very few overlays. What an overlay is you have the true industry underwriting, and overlays additional guidelines they overlay on top of what the industry requires. And these are known as bank overlays, and they kill deals regularly. For example, in credit, a lot of the banks want you at 640 or higher. And that's not what's required with Guild. We go down, we do have an overlay. We're not going to go below 600, but we do have that additional gap. We don't have length of credit overlays. If it approves automated underwriting on an FHA loan, I'm good to go. I've had files transferred to me where the bank wants a 2-year credit depth, or they want a certain number of trade lines. That is not what's required. Also with credit, I'm going to go to my cheat sheet here. We do the manual underwrite, so we are absolutely fine with people without credit using utilities and stuff, and some of the mortgage bankers can't do that. They actually need a credit score. Additionally, I don't re-pull credit before closing, so I know a lot of the mortgage bankers and banks in town, a couple days prior to closing, they're re-pulling credit, and I've saved a deal where luckily I'd pulled it previously. My credit on an FHA loan is good for 4 months, so once I have the score, I know I don't have to re-pull. I had a friend at the Stagecoach re-pull, and they lost their house over it because it dropped 40 points because they did something not so hot, about a month prior to closing that dropped their FICO. So I don't re-pull. Properties, I allow escrow holdbacks. So there's no mortgage banker or broker in town that I know of where you can hold money back to take care of a repair item, because the banks won't repair anything. So if you're missing carpeting or something, I can do an escrow holdback and we can close that deal. I don't have any flip restrictions on the property, so investor buys it, fixes it up, and sells it a day later, I'm fine with it. We do mobile homes. I also don't have to have exact comps. So I had a property on a railroad track here in Denver, no sales in 2 years up and down the track, and we used traffic comparables to come up with value, and we were okay with that. There was no way with a bank that would work. Banks also oftentimes restrict you to 90 days, the most recent 90 days of sales within a mile or within the same subdivision. And if you can't produce the comps, you can't do the deal. Well, that's not what Freddie and Fannie and Ginnie Mae require, which handles FHA and VA. They just require to try to do that, but if you got to go outside that mileage, you go a little older because there's just not good comparables, you can do that with us. We're fine with that. But we do the mobile homes. Assets, overlays, the banks want usually 2 months of bank statements, period. And if you have bounce checks in there or deposits that you cannot explain, you may end up with a denial, where with us, we can just do a verification and deposit, get a 60-day average, and I don't have to show every deposit and every bounce check that's in the file. Additionally, we allow budget letters. So if you have a borrower that truly is a cash guy, he can write a letter, and if he can prove that he could stash $200 a month and he's been doing it for 2 years, I can actually use cash on a budget letter. Pretty cool. And so I don't need reserves ever. If findings don't require it from Freddie or Fannie through the automated underwritings, I don't need it. Employment, like self-employed, a lot of the banks require 2 years period on self-employed. It's not what's required. Fannie Mae usually comes back with 1 year. So I can use the 2011 taxes, I'm good to go. Non-occupant co-borrowers, most of the banks want the occupant to qualify by themselves. That's an overlay. I do not require that. Freddie Mac does not require that. If the occupant can get a non-occupant co-signer on a conforming loan, they can do the deal with 5% down. So we don't have those kind of overlays. Additionally, on debt ratios, most of my friends at the mortgage bankers in town, they're stuck with a 50 debt ratio, which is very aggressive unless you have a situation where maybe the spouse is qualifying by herself because he had some credit issue, couldn't go on the loan, and they want to maximize their debt ratio more. I go to a 57 debt ratio. So very, very creative ways with Guild Mortgage to get things done, because all these little nuances, bounce checks, unexplained deposits, not having perfect comps, kill deals. And I get stuff transferred in all the time that we can close because we service. That's the reason I don't have the bank overlays. We have $8 billion that we currently service. We are the largest privately held mortgage company west of the Mississippi, been around over 50 years. We service loans, and we do a very good job at it. But any questions, you can email me at approvedbybill@gmail.com. You can call me. You can go to my website. Please keep sending your borrowers to my website, but hopefully this explains what overlays are.
I'm from a tiny little town, a little backwoods town called Saxby, North Carolina. Yeah, it's tiny little, back as sticks can get. I mean, the country, growing up, man, we didn't have fancy frilly things like pants and neighbors with different names. We didn't have store-bought games. We had to make our own country games like Name Them Droppings. How about around the Who's Got Chiggers? Sometimes we'd gather all the kids around and play Who's Your Daddy? Because we really didn't know. New Year's Eve, we didn't have fireworks, just a drunk uncle with a butane torch and a roll of toilet paper. Happy New Year! Woo! That's how we rolled. Thank you. Thanks, man. Rednecks love fireworks and beer, and that's a deadly combination. Every July 4th around the South, rednecks blow themselves up left and right. See, the terrorists have got it wrong. Stop trying to build an underwear bomb and just open up a roadside fireworks stand on the way to the beach. We'll do the work for you. Just stand outside a Carolina Panthers football game handing out old Milwaukee's and M80s. We'll be blowing up left and right. But they don't teach that in a fancy terrorism school. That's not jihad, that's yeehad! Now, if you're not laughing, the terrorists win, all right?